when it comes to the concept of redemption in DC Comics' characters, we have seen characters go through reform and then some sadly shift back into villainy, or some relapse because regression is theoretically a form of character development arc for a said character. Harley Quinn has had numerous occasions where she has tried to change herself, try to be a better person from her relationship with the Joker. She's struck out on her own as a villain, but she's also been very saying that she doesn't want to be that anymore. And DC has recently started pushing her more to become a hero character instead of a villain. In Harley Quinn, the latest volume, she's even been resisting the temptation to become a criminal again, to give in to that violent urge to destroy and just maim people and hurt them, because she doesn't want to be that anymore. It's such an interesting concept when you see these characters who've been stuck in the worst loops of life, the cycle of pain and anger, and trying to move forward and trying to be a better person. And to be quite honest, the avocation I've been wanting to make for a while is Poison Ivy. For those who do not follow DC Comics or its lore, Poison Ivy is commonly been in the Batman books. She has appeared and fought the Justice League. She has fought other superheroes before, but she is a misanthropic scientist who loves plants and has been chemically infected by chemicals that turned her into the character we come to know and love today, Poison Ivy, who uses a supernatural control over plant life, poisonous kisses that can mind control people, and she also has been known as an activist to protect endangered species and the natural environment from the careless actions of humanity. And yeah, she was always characterized as a supervillainess, the femme fatale of foil for Batman. But when the New 52 launched and the DC Rebirth Initiative began, they started shifting her away from being the archetypal villain into an anti-hero. But, however, in recent years, since Heroes in Crisis especially, in a storyline that was not good for a lot of people, and for it wrecked a lot of characters, and they took other writers to try and fix this the best way they could, but that's a story for another day, hopefully not. Maybe Owen Likes Comics can do something about that topic. But yeah, she's always been shifting several character storylines. She was part of Birds of Prey at one point. She was in the Injustice League, the Secret Society of Supervillains. She was even in the Suicide Squad, Gotham City Sirens with Catwoman and Harley Quinn, and was even in Justice League United for a short time. But it's always been the shift between wanting to just, burn the world, and then there's the character that wants to protect people and also protect the environment, find a balance to a lot of things. But yeah, DC had to stop and start pull with everything, and well, nothing really was the same since Heroes in Crisis. Ever since she was reborn or regrown by Wally West Comics, they decided that they didn't want her to be with Harley Quinn anymore, because they felt like her character wasn't doing so well as being just Harley Quinn's girlfriend, but they wanted to revert her back to her old ways, being a femme fatale villainous character. And I've been that person that's like, I don't want that. In this day and age, as we hurtle more and more towards climate change and the inevitability of pollutional Earth and everything, and with wide-ranging concerns such as the Amazon rainforest turning into savanna, why is it Poison Ivy still has to be a villain? She could be a hero. She could be a new face for the activism, for protecting the environment. And yeah, considering how DC Comics operates with paper and everything, that's I can understand someone said something about that. But yeah, it's been this fascinating tale with this push and pull, but at the same time it starts to reach a point where you're just like, can we just have her be a hero character, a heroine? Just have her be her environmental activism status and make her more able to move past her pain? Well, it's hard to really answer that, honestly. And she has done things before where during the events of Gotham City Sirens, when she was also part of the Hush storyline back in the early 2000s, she revealed she donated her $30 million share to a reforestation fund. And yeah, I'm just like, okay, that's cool. That's something Poison Ivy would do. Oh, and she would probably even go ahead and look into it before she made that kind of decision to donate that kind of money to a reforestation fund, because, well, there's a lot of organizations out there that are very problematic. But it was nice to see that kind of character progression and how she would give up all that money just to help reforestation of the earth. And yeah, I wish she would move past the eco-terrorism and move forward to being more of a champion of the green, of the earth, and become more of a hero character. The redemption arc that she could do right now is one of importance for me. I want her to transition full-time into a hero, and DC Comics is no stranger to shifting their status quo in ways that was never expected. Like the New 52, Flashpoint, rebooting stuff over and over, for good or worse, it always had different bearings of success and failures. But Poison Ivy is a character that can work as a hero. She has this powerful control over the green. She's even achieved so much power with it that she's become stronger than, well, even the most powerful force of green, such as Swamp Thing. And that's kind of a feat to say on that. But they don't really want to seemingly push her into, I feel, is an obvious direction for her character, because there's still the age-old management, there's still the old guard trying to keep things stable, trying to keep things the way they are from back then. But I think the problem is that it's no longer the past. People want to move forward as characters, and people want to move forward as people. Harley Quinn's storyline, where she's always been tied down and held down by the Joker's horrible tendencies of abuse and psychological manipulation, she's able to eventually move past it. She's able to rise above it. I'm like, granted, it also ended with Joker getting a bullet in the eye, and as much as we know, as much as we speak about the concept of redemption, Joker is a character that could never really be redeemed, because you have no foundation to make it work. There is no foundation to make it work, since he prefers multiple choice and has rejected multiple times to become a good guy, or at the very least rejected multiple instances to get rehabilitated, whereas Poison Ivy has on occasions rehabilitated, but it's always shifted back into a villain because the writers like to write her like that. But Poison Ivy, it's 2022. It's the 2020s, and we're still on this narrative that she has to be a villainous character, that she has to be an eco-terrorist. Recently, it was announced that there seems to be a hint towards that there's going to be a Poison Ivy series that says that Poison Ivy's story will bloom in 2022, where she was seen destroying a power plant and, killing a bunch of people. But she also saves someone who looks like Harley Quinn and reminds her of it, and she still has that tether down to humanity, where she has a struggle trying to wonder if she could really bring herself to really kill everybody. And Harley Quinn even says, when they're about to have their 800th breakup for a while on break of their relationship, she says their story isn't over. And at the rate DC likes to have this push and pull with it, it may never be over. But I kind of want that push and pull to finally stop. I want a series where we finally address this subject head on, and we finally move past this pain and grief that Poison Ivy as a character in her origin story has gone on again. Woodrow doing horrible things to her that transformed her into Poison Ivy, Pamela becoming more of a hero character. She could still call herself Poison Ivy because names change, meanings change. Redemption is a very strong, very difficult process. Just because this one person did this means that it has to say it for all time. Things can change. People can change. They have the ability to change. And in DC Comics' case, Poison Ivy is a character I feel should change. Do I like Poison Ivy with Harley Quinn? Yes, I really do. But that shouldn't be like her only defining pathway as a character. She could become a hero character. Her connection to the Greens, the fact that she could make anything possible, the fact that Poison Ivy has this power with the Green, has such a very powerful connection to it, to nature itself, even more stronger than virtually every plant-based character in the DC universe. She could do all that. She could make the world a better place, and yet DC has written her as an eco-terrorist. And it's reaching a point, I feel, that it's hard to think of what storylines you could do with her at this point. Like, she's already tried to take over the world on like several occasions and failed, and you can't have, and Queen Ivy was a run that should have been like the last storyline for Poison Ivy as a villainous character, that where she finally let goes of all that anger, all that hatred in her heart, that's put a wall around it to stop herself from letting people in. But it's not, and that was disappointing for me. That was a disappointing way to conclude that storyline that James Tynion IV had for her. But it would have been a pretty good way to end things, where Poison Ivy finally let go of all the past, let go of all that anger, and remove the anchor that stops her from moving forward as a person. It's a tragedy that they don't do that. Would I like it? Yeah. Ever since the DC quote bloodbath event happened, it did seem more like they're shifting away from Poison Ivy being a villainous character and acknowledging her relationship with Harley Quinn more. But we haven't seen her transition into a full-time hero. Sure, there might be alternate reality comics that go ahead and say she's a hero, but we're talking about the original Pamela Isley, the one that's been around since the Crisis days, since the Crisis on Infinite Earths, that's been around even before that, where she finally moves forward from that first reboot. I feel like it's time DC Comics really gives a thought. Could she work as a hero, and could the world need more of a symbol for her? Superman is supposed to be the idealization of the best in everybody. The fact that there's this person that has all this power in the world, all this strength, and he chooses to do good with it. Batman is the embodiment of anger and channeling into something good to try and be the best of people. Granted, he had a lot of money, so that didn't help, so that helped, and people don't have that kind of money. Why can't Pamela be also that kind of character, where she could be one of the greatest heroes in the world? Her powers could do so much for the society as a whole, could benefit the Green, could benefit the planet, could benefit the human race. But DC doesn't want to do it because, I don't know, it's often annoying, honestly. And I don't know what the answer is. I feel there should be a series soon where they finally tackle the subject head on. I don't know the kind of story. Should it involve Woodrow? I think it should. She finally confronts the past and finally faces it head on to finally decide whether she should be a good guy or a hero or a villain. Everyone has the capacity to change in life. It's the matter of if that person wants to change. Joker is someone who doesn't want to change. He likes being who he is. Pamela has always struggled with the concept, and I think at this point in time, we should start considering as fans, and in terms of how the world is these days, we need more people to speak up. We need more progress to be made on this. And especially, we need more icons to represent people's activities. My opinion, Poison Ivy should finally move forward as a person and should finally become the best version of herself. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more progress videos and essays. Take care.